During World War I, the Imperial German Navy operated dozens of lighter-than-air Zeppelin aircraft. They used them for reconnaissance, general patrolling, bombing, and, in one case, piracy on the high seas. Zeppelin LZ-66, with the serial number L-23, was fairly busy, involved with over 50 reconnaissance missions during the war. It took part in the largest World War I bombing raid against England in 1916, itself dropping 7 bombs over Lincolnshire. In total, LZ-66 took part in 3 bombing raids over England, during which it dropped 5,254 kilograms of bombs. Now, that's not a lot, even based on World War II's efforts, with a single B-17 able to carry 7,983 kilograms on a single short-range bombing trip. But for 1916, it was a lot. Possibly the most notable event in the career of this Zeppelin, however, was the capture of the Norwegian sailing ship Royal en route to England in the treacherous waters of the North Sea. It's not the sort of thing you'd expect something as cumbersome as a Zeppelin to be able to do. Even a large multi-mast cargo ship, a bark, could be considered agile compared to something as unwieldy as a World War I-era Zeppelin. But on the 23rd of April 1917, the commander of LZ-66 was able to maneuver his vessel to a position in front of the Royal, and a bomb was dropped off her bow. The crew of Royal decided that discretion was the better part of valor. Many abandoned ship, thinking that it was soon to become matchsticks. Instead, LZ-66 hovered over the stricken vessel and sent down crew members on rope ladders to inspect the ship. Finding it was carrying illegal contraband in the form of mining timbers to England, the ship was confiscated as a war prize and sailed to Cuxhaven in Germany. It was ultimately sold off. LZ-66 did not have the opportunity to retire gracefully. Only 4 months later, the Zeppelin was spotted patrolling the North Sea by a moderately sized squadron of cruisers and destroyers. The English cruiser HMS Yarmouth launched a single Sopwith pup from a makeshift launching platform laid over its large forward guns, and the pilot, Bernard Smart, climbed his little aircraft into combat.
I could see a man and an object unpleasantly like a machine gun on top of the envelope, and I now realized the time had come. I was now at 7,000 feet, and the Zeppelin 1,000 feet below at an angle of 45 degrees, and I was still heading straight for her stern. I pushed forward the control stick and dived.
As anyone who has heard the Hindenburg story will know, the Zeppelin aircraft were filled with highly flammable hydrogen gas. A single spark could turn one of these massive vessels into a fireball and send it plummeting into the ground or sea, and Smart's pup was loaded with incendiary.
The guns spat out, and the Zeppelin was now a mass of flames and had dropped so that the nose was pointing to the sky at an angle of 45 degrees while the flames were fast licking up towards the nose. An object was adrift from the forward end of the Zeppelin, which I first took to be some part of the fabric falling off. But on looking again, I discovered it to be a man descending in a parachute. He was the only one.
There were no rescue ships nearby, and the Zeppelin was 25 miles from land. The unknown parachutist, almost certainly the top gunner, almost certainly drowned in the frigid waters of the North Sea. As for Smart and his pup, the trip was always going to be a one-way deal for the aircraft. Back in 1917, they could launch them from the cruisers, but there was no way to land them. He had to fly back to the fleet and ditch the aircraft close enough for them to send out a rescue boat, a dangerous affair which cost the life of more than a few pilots. Such ends the tale of the LZ-66, no survivors, and an ill-fated type of aircraft that would muddle on until the Hindenburg disaster of the mid-1930s before largely vanishing into obscurity.